Good morning, Pastor Ron Jetter, Immanuel Lutheran Church, Grandview, Washington. Saturday, the 8th of August, now in the second week, and we had our coolest day yesterday. I think it's going to start heating up again. We're going to get back into the 90s and perhaps the mid and maybe even upper 90s. I don't mind the cool weather. Even that little bit of windiness that we had wasn't so bad. Gets a little bit dusty at times, though, when they're tilling the soil and then those winds come up. The air gets kind of hazy. I just worry that the haze is going to be from wildfires growing in the weeks to come, like it has in previous years. August is never a good month for fire, and we want to keep all the people who fight those fires in our thoughts and in our prayers. We've been looking at Genesis 19, this odd and disturbing story of Lot. We've got to remember two things. Number one, why is the story even in here? And we have to finish the end of the Lot saga to remember why. And that goes in verse 29, and then I'll go backing up. So it was when God destroyed the cities of the plain, God remembered Abraham and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow when he overthrew the cities in which Lot had settled. It was for Abraham. God had a covenant with Abraham, and Lot was Abraham's nephew. Abraham loved Lot and his family. The second reason is that God did not at that time tolerate other religions in which people were exploited, abused, raped, killed, all the kinds of things that people in power do to people who don't have power. And they did it in the names of their gods to please their gods. That God could not tolerate. And that's a story we're going to see throughout the entire Jewish Bible, throughout the Tanakh, is that God, as we'll find out in Exodus, God is a jealous God. You will have no other gods before me. The law and the prophets and the writings will drive this point home. So whenever we're looking at these disturbing texts, the main point is God really hates people whose sin exploits other people. Jesus didn't go around condemning a whole lot of people. As I said yesterday, a lot of people look to the story of Sodom as a story about the abuse of human sexuality. You know what? Jesus had very little to say on the subject of human sexuality. Very little. The church says far too much about it compared to what Jesus says. Jesus said a whole lot about economic sin, and the church talks about that way too little. Nonetheless, back to the story. As we left it, the two sons-in-law were mocking Lot, saying, "This is not serious. We're not leaving." And the two angels then, the question I had is, these sons-in-laws are living in the house, but it said the daughters of Lot did not know them. They were still virgins. Well, that was not uncommon. You would be betrothed. And to be betrothed meant, well, you're now living together under the roof of either the men's fathers or the daughter's fathers. In this case, the daughter's fathers. Normally it would be the man's father. But Lot, here's the other question. Lot had an entourage and herds that were so big that he and Abraham couldn't stay in the same area, and he had to move up into the cities of the plain near Sodom and Gomorrah. So he then put his household in the city. Well, where's his farm? Where's his ranch? Had to be outside the city somehow. So he only had a very small portion of his entire household and staff and entourage with him. His wife, his daughters, and their betrothed. So it was just the 6 of them apparently in the house. And then there's these 2 angels with them. And the rest of them, the hundreds of people, the herdsmen and so on, and all their families would have been out on the plain with the herds. Verse 15, chapter 19 of the book of Genesis. When morning dawned, the angels urged Lot, saying, "Get up, Take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, or else you will be consumed in the punishment of the city. But Lot lingered, so the men seized him and his wife and his 2 daughters by the hand. The Lord being merciful to him, they brought him out and left him outside the city. When they had brought him outside, they said, "Flee for your life. Do not look back or stop anywhere else in the plain. Flee to the hills, or else you will be consumed." Lot said to them, "Oh, no, my lords, your servant has found favor with you. You have shown me great kindness in saving my life, but I cannot flee to the hills for fear the disaster will overtake me and I will die. Look, that city is near enough to flee to, and it is a little one. Let me escape there. Is it not a little one, and my life will be saved?" He said to them, "Very well, I will grant you this favor too, and will not overthrow that city of which you have spoken. Hurry, escape. There's nothing I can do until you arrive there." Therefore the city was called Zoar. The sun had risen on the earth when Lot came to Zoar. So, okay, Lot says, "Well, I'm a city dweller now." The sons-in-law, notice they're not included in this. Where are they? They mocked and they jested and they stayed in the city. They would not come out. So Lot, his wife, and his 2 daughters, the 4 of them flee with these 2 angels who have already told Lot, "We're going to destroy the city. Don't look back." And of course, you know what's going to happen. You know the story really well. Don't look back. So they flee, and Lot says, "But there's a little city over there. I don't want to go live in the hill country. That's too far for me. And it would be too far from his herds. Well, there's another little city. How about I go live there?" "Fine, you want to live in Zoar. What's that to us?" So here's Lot, like Abraham, bargaining. "Well, I like your idea, but let me just put a little wrinkle on that. You got to love these people. They're not just blindly obedient. They're people who have their own urges and opinions and desires." Lot and his wife, they want to settle in a city. After all, now the daughters are going to need new husbands. So where are you going to look for them? Out among the herds people? Well, no. You want them in the city where there would be some eligible young men of good standing. So the angels say, "Fine, just get out, go." Verse 24, we know this well. "The Lord rained on Sodom and Gomorrah sulfur and fire from the Lord out of heaven." Now we hear a lot about Sodom, but Gomorrah just gets bundled in with it. Maybe it was very nearby. We don't know. And where did this come from? And of course, we can look back and say, were there volcanic activity? Was there something that would account for this? Well, this is the Bible. These stories occur because something happened to destroy cities, and they're trying to make meaning of it. And the meaning they make of it is that it was God's activity to thwart the sin of people worshiping other gods, gods who urged people to do horrible things to other people. He overthrew the cities and all the plain and all the inhabitants of the cities and what grew on the ground. But Lot's wife behind him looked back and became a pillar of salt. One little detail. So out of all the stories in the Bible, this one actually makes the children's Bibles. Lot and his family were fleeing. They were told, "Don't look back." Jesus once said, "Those who follow me and look back are not worthy of the kingdom." Some people said, "We'd like to follow you, but we're still caring for our parents. Wait until we've buried them and then we'll follow you." And he said, "Let the dead bury the dead." Wow, pretty harsh words from Jesus. Wow, if you're not willing to abandon your duty to your parents, which is one of the 10 Commandments, by the way. Honor your father and mother. Take care of them when they're old. Teach your children how to take care of the elderly by example. And Jesus is saying, "Yeah, forget that. Follow me." Wow. Don't look back. There's that harsh command that even Jesus adopts that we find as a biblical theme. What does it mean to give your all? And that's what God demands, our all. What God settles for is the sinful mixed bag that we are, God chooses to love us, but God demands perfection. And that demand isn't set aside just because we're not able to keep it. God doesn't relax the standards. Rather, Jesus keeps the standards on our behalf by way of the cross. Back then, there had to be an example of what it means to look back. And that's why this story is here. So now Lot is widowed, and his 2 daughters have no husbands. They go to the city of Zoar and start a new life. Maybe.